You're listening to Packers Talk Network. PackersTalk.com.
Welcome to the Packers Weekly Podcast, part of PackersTalk.com network. I'm your host, Miles Teteak, joined by your co-host, Tim Hamilton. We are diehard Packers fans that love talking about the Packers, not getting distracted by all the national sports media talking points and nonsense they get into. We are diving into the top topics around the Pack every week, breaking down games during the season and sorting through all the drama and rumors, draft stuff of the off season. If y'all want to support the podcast, please spike that like button for us. Give us a follow on those socials, but most importantly, jump on over to that Packers Talk Network YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. That helps us out very, very much. And only takes you a few seconds, a few clicks of the mouse. You can do it right now, and you're not going to miss a thing. But makes a big difference. So if you guys love hanging out with us, we love you subscribers. You guys get after it in the comments. We're hanging out every Monday night at 9:30, streaming live and talking Pack. So thank you guys. And also, if you love the show, share it with a friend, another Packer. There's always time for more Packers talk. So before we tear apart this disgusting tie, I don't even know, man. I hate talking. Like I almost would have rather lost. It's just a tie is such a awful, incomplete feeling. It's just blech. And then you have that ugly asterisk at the end of your record. Anyway, we'll get into all that. We'll get into who needs to be fired. Somebody's got to be fired. We're firing people tonight. And overreactions are welcome. I'm sure we'll hear from some NFC North trolls as well in the comments. You guys are usually pretty reliable. But first, let's take care of some business. Our show is once again sponsored by Wisconsin's own Ticket King. For over 30 years, Ticket King has been providing Packers tickets to Packers fans, as well as those Bucks tickets, Brewers tickets, all those tickets. Get them all. You can find them on the web at theticketking.com or visit their locations in Green Bay and Milwaukee. Remember, support those local businesses. And Tim, good evening. I'm not even going to ask how you are, man. We both have a terrible taste in our mouth right now. And, just get it out, man. Get it out. Tell me your feels.
Well, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel because it's not a loss, but it's not a win. And it feels like a loss. It's gross. I
mean, tastes bad.
Now we got to say 2-1-1. Like, This is ridiculous. Like, if you're going to tie later in the year, so we don't have to do this all year where we got to throw in the stupid tie with their record. It's going to drive me nuts. And then we got to figure out playoff possibilities with ties factor. That's stupid. Just go. So that's, I hate that. But yeah, that loss, or I'm calling it a loss. It's not a loss. It was a tie. At least they got that for whatever it's worth. Felt like a loss. And back-to-back weeks now are not looking so good. I was more surprised by last night's result than the loss to the Browns. And I'm probably more frustrated by the tie than I was than to the loss of the Browns. Like, I fully expected them to go into Dallas and win. The Browns game, as frustrating as it was, I thought it was going to be ugly. I thought they were really going to have to get through the ugliness and the slop of the game to try to win that. So that wasn't too surprising to me. But the Dallas game was really frustrating and just ugly. And they go into the bye at 2-1-1. I hate the early buys, but it might be a good time to kind of sit back and reevaluate. And they need to look in the mirror, and they mostly being the coaching staff, because I feel like a lot of this is on them. It's a good time for the bye too, because let's get the offensive line healthy. Let's get the receiving core. Maybe we'll get some help there coming out of the bye week. But yeah, if we would have done this podcast right after the game, it would be a lot different than it's going to be, I think, tonight. I think we both have had 24 hours now to calm down and take a look at the bigger picture, but we're really frustrated. And it's just a tie, which I guess is better than a loss. It is, but a game that you're going to look back on and be like, how the hell did they not win that game? Very frustrating. The next a week or 2 weeks now till game day. It's going to be really tough to get through coming off of that game and really coming off back-to-back poor performances after they started off with 2 really good performances. So I think we get through 4 games going into the bye week. And for me personally, I just sit there and I look at the 4 games and I go, now I don't know what the hell this team is. Like, I don't know. It's feeling pretty good after 2 games. And, we both said, it's only 2 games. Man, they look really good. It was tough not to get very excited about the possibilities. And now, through the next 2 games, you go, they got a lot of work to do. And it's familiar to the pattern we've seen with this team over the last couple of years. So I don't know what they are at this point. I really don't. Very few positives to take out of that game. If we want to start there, to me, the biggest positive is the play of Jordan Love. I thought he was really good last night. Beyond that, maybe they started late in the game getting the running game going, but not a whole lot of positives to take out of that. And I know we're going to get into all the negatives tonight, but yeah, just
it's time to get emotional about this.
Tough way to go into the bye week. And they got a lot of work to do. And it is only 4 games. I don't think as a league we really know much about these teams yet. And that's pretty much the way it goes every year, really. Like, we all want to each week, like, crown teams as being really good or really bad, or, these teams are contenders and it can change week by week depending on what happens. And it's just like the overreaction to it. But it's 4 weeks. You really don't know what they are. And it sucks because the first 2 weeks looked so good. We were all feeling very good about this team and where it could be heading. And it still could head that way. Like, everything's still in front of them. But now coming off these 2 games, you just don't know. A lot of questions, and there's a lot of things that need to be fixed.
Yeah, and that's the issue that I have, and why I point immediately to coaching is, again, I've said this a lot. You've seen the players do it. Excuse me. You've seen the guys make the plays. You've seen the guys play at an elite level, even against the Lions. Maybe the Commanders aren't as good as you thought, but they're certainly not a bad team. But you played very well against the Lions. When you get this level of inconsistency, it's a lack of leadership. It's poor coaching, and we see the difference this season between a good D-line coach being in the position and whatever we had last season, and that guy. But yeah, good coaching makes a difference. It really does. There's no doubt about it. And so maybe some of that also, there's a difference in the coach at linebacker right now. We're seeing Edge Cooper struggle a little bit. I don't know that he's playing up to the level that everybody thought he might so far this season. And that's not to take shots at Coach Duggan over there, the new linebackers coach. It's just to say, like, these are the differences between seasons, is you got to change your coaching or coaches in those positions, and things look different. Now, where things don't look different and you're seeing the same mistakes over and over and over again is where the coaches haven't changed. And on the offense, you're seeing the same mistakes allowed over and over again. You're seeing the coaches make the same mistakes allowed over and over again. You're seeing LaFleur make the same play calling mistakes over and over again. You're seeing the same poor game management, time management, over and over. There's something has to change. And I think what's really interesting, and something you said to me, Tim, they still scored 40 points. But what we see is a very talented team. Like, the Cowboys had to put together a Herculean effort to tie what was a very poor performance of the Packers. Is that fair? Is that a fair characterization of how that went?
I think
that might have been one of Dak's best games in the last 2 seasons.
I think he played really well. I think they had a very simple but very effective game plan.
That's not to take anything away from them. It's that they literally they played at I think a much higher level than anybody expected.
It was not a good night for Jeff Happ.
No, it was not a good night.
Let's be real. We've been crowning him as the greatest defensive coordinator that's ever lived the last few weeks. He did not have a good night. But having said that, his players didn't perform for him. They make some tackles in that game. It might look a little bit different. But yeah, the Cowboys, no CeeDee Lamb. They had a couple different offensive linemen out of the game. Then there were other ones coming in and out of the game. Their offensive line held up, to me, better than the Packers' offensive line did without two starters. Now, I think the Packers' offensive line got better as the game went on. So, cool, good signs there. But yeah, and Cowboys defense stinks, and they've been getting lit up, by the Giants and the Bears the last couple of weeks, and I think the Packers got there too. But yeah, I think early it looked like they were gonna run them out of the Packers were gonna run them out of the building and dominate, and the blocked extra point returns kind of changed the momentum, and then the second quarter was just a disaster. To me, what really swung that game was LaFleur's decision on the final drive offensively in the first half, where he decided to be aggressive. Yet he's not aggressive when it's fourth down in Cowboys territory. He decides to punt. He's not aggressive at the end of overtime to go for the end zone instead of whatever the hell that last drive was once they cross midfield. He's aggressive with, what was it? I think 21 seconds left and no timeouts. That's when he's aggressive. When it was like, okay, just go to halftime. Just Cowboys are hot right now. They just scored. Just settle it down. Your chances of going down and getting field goal range, even against that defense, not very good. They know you have no timeouts. They're playing to protect the big plays. And he pushed it, and they got burns. You would hope that your left tackle, who's your preferred starter at left tackle, could hold up. But Rasheed Walker got beat. He had a rough night. He's had a rough season. We can talk about him later. But that started it, and then they were constantly having to play from behind. They had the second half, you had to score almost basically every time you had the ball. And I think it kind of took you say Herculean effort. I think it took a Herculean effort from Jordan Love and the offense to score as much as they did, because the time they were getting the ball, they had to score. And that's on the defense. It's on the special teams. It's on the way the game was managed. So you give Dallas credit. Dak Prescott, he's got my respect. He had my respect coming in the game. I knew he was going to go out there and sling it. And yeah, he's got no CeeDee Lamb, but he wasn't going to play.
He finds guys. He always has. He
wasn't going to play I don't have my best guy. Let me just play conservative and just take care of the football and not try to he's going to go out there and play. But I think their game plan was they recognized the Packers pass rush and how good it's been. They knew they were banged up on the offensive line. It was, let's get the ball out real quick. We'll take some shots down the field here and there, but we're going to get it out real quick before the pass rush can get home. And we're going to run the ball, and we're going to stay with the run. And they did that from the beginning. Their first drive of the game was a 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 4, and they ran the ball. It got stuffed. They punted, but they kind of established we're going to stay with the run. They ended up averaging 4.5 yards a carry. Not much. There weren't explosive runs that the Packers gave up, but it was just there was constant 4, 5, 6 yards, and they stayed ahead of the sticks. And he was checking it down at times for short passes. The Packers were really bad tackling last night. The worst tackling game of the season, maybe the worst tackling game since Hafley's taken over. I mean, I'm sure there were one or two last year. But and it was just they were bleeding these little plays that should have been 4 or 5 yards were becoming 6, 7, 8, and just the Cowboys are ahead of the sticks. They're having manageable 2nd, 3rd downs, and then they would take their shots downfield. And boy, the Packers cornerbacks were bad last night. And it was nice of them to give a little shout out to Joe Barry with soft coverages and giving the 10-yard cushions off the snap last night, but they don't have to do that anymore. No more shout outs to Joe Barry. But it was a simple plan from the Cowboys, but it made a lot of sense and it was executed great. And they were much better doing it than what the Packers were. The Packers had no counter for it. And when you miss as many tackles as they were missing, it made that so much easier for them. And it neutralized. Parsons was actually pretty good. Watching the game, I'm sitting there, I'm like, he's not getting home.
Dak was just that much better. I mean, when you look at it,
the ball was out.
Getting through there, and the ball was just getting out.
The ball was out. I saw everybody was posting things online today with clips of it, cut-ups of Parsons was there. He was, and Lucas Van Ness and Carl Brooks were there, and they were just a step or half a step late because Dak was just getting rid of it quick. But he was able to do that because it was 2nd and short and 3rd and short. he didn't have to hold the ball and look for something further downfield because they didn't tackle well, they didn't cover well at the back end. So credit to the Cowboys, at least to their offense. It was good, but it was not a good night for the Packers defense either.
No, and that's where it's kind of funny. The last 2 weeks, you could say against the Browns, the defense held up their end of the deal, the offense did not, and then they reversed roles. I would say,
yeah,
we got a lot of gripes about the offense. This offense could have put up 60 points in this game. They could have, for sure, and they left a lot out there. But yeah, I mean, there's 40 points on the board. To say that the offense didn't hold up their end of the deal would not be, I don't think, very honest or accurate. And the defense certainly did not, right? They gave up 40. And what I do like about that is Parsons coming out with a tone of accountability almost immediately, saying, we didn't hold up our end, and that's not good. He's pissed off. There's no victory in not losing for him. And I think that tone will be contagious coming from somebody like him. And, this almost felt to me like kind of a, thing on the calendar where you needed to get past it, like emotionally, to be able to check into business. You needed to get past this mark, get over this whole drama, Jerry and Micah and all that. And now truly focus a game at a time on football. And I think they'll be able to do that, having some easier matchups coming up. And they've traditionally done well. They've corrected, LaFleur. That's where, I saw somebody in the comments. We'll get to the good, the bad, the ugly, all of that. We'll have a whole segment about Bisaccia here just a second. But somebody in the comments already said it, and I've heard this a lot. MLF need to be fired. And I just got to say that's a miss. That's a miss. Like, I get it. I hear where you're coming from. I know why you're upset. Game management shouldn't be where it's at this point in his career. Play calling should definitely be sharper, especially in the clutch. There's a lot there to not be happy about. But LaFleur, and we've seen this, and this has been kind of fun for Tim and I. We've got the records, right? Like the first season we started the podcast was Jordan Love's starting season, and we've gotten to kind of see LaFleur's maturation and leadership as we've gone along. And there have been those moments where it's like, man, is LaFleur on the hot seat? It's like, no, he's not. But if he doesn't do the right thing here, he will be, And so it's like you're a step away from the hot seat, and he's been in that place a few times, but he's always done the right thing from a leadership perspective. I think, the most recent and best example is probably with Jeff Hafley. He finally, cut ties with Joe Barry and hired somebody like Jeff Hafley, where it's like, dang, he didn't just replace Joe Barry with another guy that is his buddy or some other, guy who's not good. He went out and he found someone who's sharp, man. Like, I don't think there's any denying, and I'll be the first one to tell you that Jeff Hafley puts ketchup in his coffee. He's a terrible leader that should never be considered for a head coaching position. But he's a damn good defensive coordinator, and we've already seen that early on. He's not perfect. This game, certainly, he's not free of any blame, I think, in this one. When you go in and you have the advantages you have, you've got to be able to exploit those things, and you almost have to be able to anticipate that's how someone's going to try to counter you. But anyway, so yeah, this was a bad mark on Hafley this game, but overall his time with the Packers, I think you could say, is pretty damn good. As far as MLF needing to be fired, I think he's at that point again where it's like, look, dude, if you don't get rid of Bisaccia and you don't do the right thing here, then you're on the hot seat, because now you're it's almost impossible for you not to be aware of the move that you're consciously making that's detrimental to the team. If you, and we've seen them do this with kickers, right? We're not too far removed from a kicker issue. If you had a situation where a kicker, it was their fault that a field goal got blocked 2 weeks in a row, that dude's out. He's out, right? Like, and if they miss an easy one 2 weeks in a row, that dude's out. You're done with him. You caught him, you go find the next one. And that's what they did. So with this whole thing with the field goals getting blocked 2 weeks in a row, you can easily pin the losses on both losses on that, just from the point differential. But how the hell are you getting 2 field goals blocked 2 weeks in a row? Like, that's crazy, man. I don't remember the last time before. Well, I guess I do. But, like, it's such a rare thing. Like, that doesn't even happen. You can go seasons without having a field goal blocked. And now you've gone 2 weeks in a row with a field goal blocked. That is critical failure, man. No, time to take drastic action. So does MLF need to be fired? No. We want MLF. MLF's got good leadership qualities. We've seen it. But we want MLF to make the right decision here and do the right thing. Because if he doesn't, then you do have to start talking about, is he the right guy for the job?
Yeah, we're gonna get into coaching, so we can. If we want to do it now, we can do it now.
Yeah, man. I mean, let's.
So I agree with you. He does not need to be fired. He should not be on any hot seat. I think that's ridiculous. But he's had a bad 2 weeks. Browns game, Cowboys game. It has not been good for Matt LaFleur. If this continues, now it has got to continue, at least for me, for a while, to him to even be considered on the hot seat. Like, he's not there. What he's done in his time since he's been head coach, he's a good head coach, but
he's a leader of men.
He's got shortcomings, and he's got things that he needs to be better at. The clock management and game management thing, this isn't the first time. It's not the first season there's been issues. This goes back to like his beginning, and I think it's somewhat tied in with the all gas, no brakes that has now been like all gas, but there's going to be brakes, but sometimes there's not going to be brakes, and you don't know like when he's going to get aggressive and when he's not. And the Cowboys game last night, that was one where you're just like, or at least for me, I was like, what is it? Like, what are you doing? Like, he used to be a very aggressive fourth down coach to the like where he was going for a lot, to the point where people were like, all right, maybe he needs to slow down with some of these fourth downs. And it's just steadily like gotten much less aggressive and much more conservative. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that is the change at quarterback, the change from a veteran team to a younger team, where he's, I don't want to say trusting, but there was so much given to Rodgers before. Like, he was in charge of so much, and there was just that, like, hey, he's Aaron Rodgers. He's been in the league for a million years. He's a Hall of Famer. Like, he knows what he's doing, and I don't want to step on his toes and cause friction, sort of thing. And now it's like he trusts Jordan, but he maybe doesn't trust all the pieces around him. And he's gotten like where, again, I think he's way more conservative with fourth downs. We saw that last night where he should have went for it. But yet then you get the ball back with no timeouts and whatever it was, 21 or 27 seconds left in the first half. He should have just sat on it and went over. Or like, if you want to try to be aggressive, fine, first down, see if something's there. And if it's not, then you say, you know what, we're going to go to half. But he kept pushing it to the point where he pushed it so much that his quarterback got strip sacked and it cost you 7 points in a game that you ended up tied. That's on him. And then the overtime situation, once they get that fourth down conversion to goal, and it's like, okay, go win the game. And your quarterback had played that well. They've been scoring on every possession, whether it was a touchdown or a field goal.
Yes.
Moving the ball. Your running game was actually starting to open up. And that was another thing last night. It was like, I get you need to give the ball to Jacobs. You need to try to establish the run. He's too good of a back to just like get away from him. But it wasn't working. And your quarterback was dealing, throwing the ball down the field. And they just continue to try to like, let's ram Jacobs up the middle. And every run kind of looked like the same thing. Now it started opening up and getting better in the fourth quarter. Emmanuel Wilson played great and he factored into that. Okay, cool. But then and you should have put more, you should have given Jordan more. You should have just said, you know what, he's dealing tonight. Like, if we're going to let him take the game over and then we can run off of that. And you didn't. And then you get to overtime, you pick up the first down. After your team's been scoring on every possession, like, go for it. Like, you got to take a shot in the end zone when you get down there. Then the mismanagement, and you talked about play calling. I don't want to get too much into play calling because there's so many factors that go into it. But I hated the screen to Golden that got blown up by Diggs because they had been running something similar to that a lot in the game. And then then Jordan was forced to dump it off, and that led to whatever the hell the last play ended up being. Like it was just so many things factored in. The floor, and I know I'm all over the place, but the floor's had a game management issue first since he's been a head coach. There's been things like this that have popped up time and time again. And I think his aggressiveness has been dialed back. And I'm not saying he needs to go like Dan Campbell and like every fourth down you're going to go for it, but he needs to get a little more aggressive. And the game management, if he hasn't figured it out to this point, I don't know if I have much confidence in that he's going to like turn the corner and figure it out. Right? Like he's been a head coach since 2019.
I just think it's a matter of who he's relying on.
Well, and that's the other thing, because he's got an assistant head coach who's also the special teams coach. So you would think he's relying on him. And he's got other guys up in the booth who are, and guys, I know Connor Lewis, who's whatever his position, he was like a game management kind of guy, analytics guy that would kind of be in his ear, like, go here, don't go here, do that, like, I know he's got those kind of guys up in the booth that are like feeding him some of that information, or at least he did. Is he choosing to be more conservative? I don't know, but it just seems like it is. And I think he trusts Jordan. I just don't think he's comfortable enough with the guys around him at receiver. Certainly at the offensive line, because they're not playing with their starters there. So maybe he's more concerned there. I don't know. But one of the comments he made after the game was all the time they wasted between the dump off to Emmanuel Wilson, which then led to, all that time being wasted before the last play, which almost cost them the game. He said, I don't know if some of our guys on the field realized we were even in 2 minutes there. Well, how the hell does that happen?
Whose fault is that?
That's your head coach. Like,
he says that as if it's like, well, those guys should have got their shit together. Look, dude, you're the coach. Oh my God.
They should be like, this should be part of practice. This is what you work on in training camp in the off season. You have times on Fridays, like special situations where you're stuff like this, like scramble drills to get your
at the Division III AA level. You are practicing your 2-minute drill every practice, man. It's not even a rare thing. That's how you end practice.
And you can see some of the receivers weren't hustling to get up to the line, and they run like, what are we doing here? Like, you should all be ready to. We saw the Browns do it last week against the Packers, where they completed the pass over the middle. They all hustled up. Everybody knew what to do, where to stand, get the ball. They spiked it, got the field goal. Like, it was a great job by them. We've seen other teams without timeouts, without the ability to spike the ball, hustle on, hustle off, kick a field goal. Like, this is stuff you should be practicing. It should be drilled into these guys. And if it's not, that starts with Matt LaFleur. So, yeah, I don't think should be on a hot seat. I don't think he is. But stuff like this is like, dude, you've been the head coach since 2019. This isn't your first time. Like, this should be part of your program.
These aren't the mistakes that should be made.
Right. This should be drilled into it. And that's the most concerning. We can talk about play calling, and I don't like so many, horizontal passes. And I don't like, the trick play with Savion Williams, and they're going to do a double pass, and it's just like, let your quarterback just card this team up.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff, like he got way too cute with things last night. All the jet sweeps, like, just let your quarterback deal. When he's throwing the ball like that, let him go to work. Like, that stuff's one thing, the play calling, but the game management and situation management, that's where I have much bigger concerns about it. And again, this isn't like a first time thing. It goes back throughout his coaching tenure. So my concern, like, is he ever going to get better at this? Does he need somebody there in his ear, like, okay, Matt, like, here's where you need to do this, where he's supposed to have that as your assistant head coach, who is also the guy that we all want fired, and isn't doing his job with special teams.
But and look, it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing, but at the end of the day, it's like, no, I mean, we're watching consistent mistakes being made, and who's been in the position that kind of intuitively should be correcting those mistakes. Like, You can't just keep ignoring it. That's why, like with the Joe Barry thing, that's everybody got so loud about that because it was so stinking obvious. It's like, dang man, you can't be putting Preston Smith one-on-one with Justin Jefferson. What are you doing, you madman? And I mean, it just became so obvious. And the same thing is happening with Bisaccia. We got a blocked field goal 2 weeks in a row. I mean, it just couldn't be more painfully obvious how much of a problem there is. And then to hear these murmurs of, well, everybody really likes him and they talk to him all that. It's like, dude, all right, wave the red flag again. Like, there's another one. Like, get this guy out of here. And, I was very excited when they signed him. When they brought him in, it seemed like a great move. He just took the Raiders to the playoffs as an interim head coach after that seemed like a total disaster. That looked like a great demonstration of leadership. I don't know where that guy went. That's not the guy who's in Green Bay right now. I don't know what the heck's going on, but that ain't it. And this isn't like a new experiment, right? If this was just, year 1, year 2 of old Richie B, then that'd be different. You're saying he's been here since 22. We got it. We've seen enough. We've still not been better. We were terrible before he got here. Now we might be worse. And the thing is, they changed things philosophically for how they bring in players for special teams, and it still didn't work. You have starters playing on special teams, and you still didn't get better. That is a coaching problem. 100% a coaching problem. This is the same brand of coaching problem that I was screaming about with the defensive line. Everybody's talking about how bad the defensive line was last season. I'm going, look, I see these guys on this defensive line. They're pretty damn good. We've seen all of them play pretty damn good here and there. And for some reason, they stink right now. And that just smells like a bad coach to me, and sure enough, that's what it was. This is the same thing. The problem is it's not limited to a position group. It's a third of the game, plus he's in the coach's ear in the most important moments of the game. Those are problems. That's a problem, man. That's a leadership problem.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up like they changed philosophically because they went out and they've added guys that are special teams guys, where they keep guys on the roster that
Zane Anderson,
that they really like. The Neiman dude that they picked up at the end of cut down, that like they add guys to the roster, keep guys on the roster primarily for special teams a lot more than they ever did before. Like it's a bigger priority. What's frustrating is like it's the continual problems. Like, okay, you had a kick block last week. That shouldn't happen again the rest of the season. And it happens on your second extra point, your second kick of the night. Different side, different player responsible for it. But, like, it shouldn't happen again.
And it's just mathematically the difference in both of those games. Right. It's just man, come on.
They gave up a late big kickoff return to Turpin. I can't remember if that was overtime or fourth quarter, whatever. No,
it was. I remember that.
Yeah. You give up that. Then the issues started last night. And, boy, they're going to continue because now it's on film is Dallas figured out let's kick it, let it bounce, and goes into the end zone. And Packers are like, what do we do? Oh, we take an 8. But you only get it at the 20 because it's in the new landing zone. They kept doing it with no adjustment from the Packers. Maybe you should position your returners a little closer so they catch it before it bounces in. Whatever it may be. Yeah. It was like the first time they've seen it. You knew what the new rules were going to be all off season. They changed the rules back in March or May or whenever the rules went through. Like, you had all that time. You're the special teams coach. What the hell else are you doing? Figure out how, like, to game plan. Other teams are kicking knuckle kickoffs and forcing teams, like, they're having tough times fielding the ball, when to field it, when to let it bounce. Like, some teams are being really creative with kickoffs. Not the Packers. They're behind, and they seem to always be behind the trend, and they're going to continue to see this because they're behind and they don't make adjustments. And it's like you're seeing what Dallas is doing to you in the game. Nothing changes, and Savion Williams kept balls in the end zone. He takes the knee at the 20, and I'm not blaming Savion Williams. He's a rookie. He's probably doing what he's being told or not being told, I guess. That's on your coach. Like, you saw them do it, make an adjustment, but they don't. Now, the one thing I'll say, or sort of in Bisaccia's defense, is the punt return issues. And I've been telling you about this since week 1 with Matthew Golden back there. It's a disaster waiting to happen. And he hasn't turned it over, but, man, he almost got killed with a big hit on him last night. letting balls bounce. When one you let bounce that he should have caught, and then he catches on the bounce, spinning around and getting drilled. They finally take him off punt returns, and they put Dobbs out there, who hasn't returned a punt since college at some point. That's your answer? Like
that's what I'm talking about with this whole thing. As far as like the players not performing, you got to look at the coach. Like, my goodness,
it's
you
not
had a
their fault.
stable of returners, and somehow you don't have a single one.
They don't have the stable of returners. That's like, it's not Matthew Golden's fault. He's being put.
Well, I
in
mean, McCole Hardman, we've seen him be a returner at a good level. Why can't they use it? What's the deal with him?
He's
apparently a useless coach. Yeah, they cut him, and then they signed some nobody. I don't understand this.
I don't either. So is it Goody who doesn't want to add a return guy, or is it because Bisaccia, we've been told since he's been there, has a lot of say in specialists who they bring in. So is it Bisaccia saying he doesn't want Hardman? Is it Goody saying he doesn't want Hardman for whatever reason? Just work with what you got. I don't know, but like, you can't keep trotting these guys out there, a punt returner, and maybe finally they realized last night that Golden just can't, like, he's not ready for it. It's too much for the, and I'm not blaming Golden. He shouldn't have been put in that situation, but you can't go to Romeo Dobbs. They don't want to use
these
Nixon
are the things that training camp is for. How did you not work this out in training camp?
And if it's a personnel issue, like, there's got to be a punt returner on somebody's practice squad that you can sign to your roster, or somebody out there that can catch a punt. Like, we're just, you know what? I guess they don't want to use Nixon because he's a starter, but like, Dobbs is a starter. Jaden Reed's a starter. You reason him, like, put Nixon.
Nixon's an all-pro at the position. If it's a problem, put him in there. That's what I mean. No, that's what I mean. Like, not a
punt returner. He's done it. No. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, a punt returner, just tell him he's got a fair catch in most of them. Like,
sure hands.
Keep doing this. So is that Bisaccia or is that Goody? I don't know that one, but the block kicks, and they finally made the personnel changes and put different players on the field goal block kick. Well, okay, but you're a little too late with that.
Yeah,
and maybe part of and Justice Mosqueda had a nice article today, and he was putting more of the blame on LaFleur, saying that he doesn't want to use too many starters on special teams, and maybe that's what handcuffed Bisaccia. And that could be the case, right?
I don't.
And then they made.
I mean, every other.
I don't
team
either.
Same thing. Like, that's where I'm like,
right.
Me with the excuses on that one.
And I think maybe for the field goal blocking that had something to do with it, but at the same time, like, what about the other areas that are struggling? What about the continued penalties on special teams, right? Like the big kick returns, not being able to adjust on the kick returns, not like it's not just one thing, right? So it's part of it's personnel with who's returning punts. But a lot of it is just like you're not making the adjustments to how teams are attacking your field goal blocking unit. Now
Which means you're not acknowledging that there's a problem,
right? Or you are, but you're not fixing it too. Like, and now it's going to be kickoff returns. Like, oh wow, look, they're bouncing the kickoffs into the end zone. What do we do? You had all off season for this. What do you like? It's the first time you thought of this, and it's like you're always behind with the special teams, because before you even get them out on the field, they're behind because other teams have strategies and have game plans, and the Packers special teams it's almost like a video game where like kick return center, right? Kick return. We're just going to go out there and do. Oh, somebody did something different. What the hell do we? Right. What are we going to do? And like, there's no adjustment.
Yeah.
It's infuriating, and
it should be unacceptable. I don't know how you like intentionally fail and still have a job and even be considered good at your job like that. I don't get it. I don't understand. And you know what? Maybe it's going to take until this off season for ed policy to get involved and maybe have a different say in things. And all right, guys, philosophically, here's how we're evaluating things. And some of y'all don't measure up. So see ya. Because this, you can't keep doing it. And I think I haven't verified this, but I've heard multiple people saying that Bisaccia is the highest paid special teams coach in the league. That's just financially irresponsible. Just financially irresponsible. If that's true, I mean, it doesn't even have to be a real long conversation about performance. It's like, you're not even close to the highest performing special teams coordinator in the league, dude. You got to go. or you got to take a demotion. Like you're not that guy. And that's where I think someone like Ed Policy might actually step in and go, dollars and cents don't add up here, man. I'm sorry. See ya. Like that. You have to have that. It's wildly, wildly irresponsible to be paying someone the top of the league, and he is literally the worst, like one of the worst, if not the worst, right now, and has been for 3 years. Like, dude,
I'm with you. I just don't see LaFleur making that change in season, and
I don't see LaFleur doing it, but that's where I wonder, like, because again, we can't look at this thing in a vacuum. You look at this as a whole moving thing. Goody in the front office, they put chips in. They said, all right, we're all in on this, dude. Like, we're going to get Micah Parsons. All right, we just traded picks that we covet. We traded a dude that we just signed to a rare third contract because we loved him. You know, like, we just put a lot out there. And we did it because we thought this was the team. And now y'all are making silly mistakes like this? Two field goals being blocked 2 weeks in a row? No, man. Like, get that nonsense out of here. That's like, there's got to be no tolerance for that level of performance when you are chips in on a championship.
There shouldn't be. But my fear is that LaFleur keeps him there, and this continues throughout the year. All right, and that's
everyone's
stuff, and then he makes the change when it's too late, like when it's already costing games.
It's already cost him. I mean, you're using valuable snaps right now because you've got a lot of guys in their prime playing some of the best ball that they've played. Jordan Love is playing some of the best ball we've seen him play. Micah Parsons, you may say he wasn't effective. I think we've seen the PFF ranking maybe has flown around now. He was the highest graded player on the field yesterday. The point is he's playing at a high level. Whether he's getting it home and getting 100 sacks or not is not relevant. He's got the most pressures. He's impacting the game. Rashawn Gary was leading the league in sacks through 3 weeks because of him. So, like, you've got guys playing at a high – Xavier McKinney's still playing at a very high level. He's made some mistakes, but he's playing at a high level. You just have too many guys playing at too high of a level to tolerate that kind of BS. Like, and again, you go into a battle and you just get beat. You just get beat. You go into battle and you just – trip over your shoelaces the whole time and somehow find a way to tie. It's like, all right, well, great, I guess. I don't know, but it does speak to the fact that this is an incredibly talented team. I don't know what to do with the coaching mistakes just being as fundamental as they are. It's like, man, like somebody has to step in. Somebody has to step in and hold accountability. And it may not be LaFleur. I think that's kind of the leadership challenge on him, but I'm not sure someone else won't, because I think that too many people in the organization have said we're going in on this season to just let these guys trip over their shoelaces.
I hope so. I hope you're right. And like for me, I'm not even like looking for they got to be a great special teams unit. I just want competence. Like, don't make the same mistakes over and over again. Clean up the penalties that we see. I mean, we're seeing throughout the roster with the penalties, but clean them up on special teams. And don't cost yourself games. Like, just give me some competence on special teams. And then we can, like, if we get to that point, then we can start talking about, like, hey, let's get really good on special teams. But we can't even get to being, like, just okay. Like, just not shooting ourselves in the foot and costing yourself games or opportunities to, advance in the season and stuff like that. Like, you can't get to that point. And it's been horrible with the results they've had the last 2 weeks. And, they're in a much better spot if they just got okay special teams than what we've seen from them throughout.
Yeah, they don't have to be elite. I don't need the special teams to be like one of the things that the other team is afraid of. I just don't be a liability. Don't make me think you're like sabotaging the team, for crying out loud at this point, man. Like, you're responsible for the last 2 losses. It's inexcusable. So I'm very much on the, you got to move along from Bisaccia. It's not fan hyperbole. Like, this is, it's just dollars and cents, man. Like, the guy's not performing. He's not performing.
Mhm.
It's not a new experiment. You've got enough data. It hasn't worked. Maybe he can go somewhere else and it can work for him there. God bless him. But like, it just isn't working. And you can't afford, now that you have put your chips on the table, you can't afford to just sit here and bang your head against a brick wall when you already know you ain't putting your head through the brick wall, man. Just stop.
And it's not like it's not a high bar to reach, right? Like, it's just, we're just asking for, like, don't hurt the team, right? Like, just
Yeah,
do
don't
okay.
be a liability.
Don't be a liability, and they can't even get to that. And it's the repeated mistakes. This isn't the first time we're seeing it. This is year after year with the specials, and it hasn't just been Bisaccia. We have like a legacy of terrible special teams with the Packers. I guess that's what we get for 1996 and how awesome they were that year.
Yeah,
But,
right.
so just be fine. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Don't cost us games, and like, let the defense and offense decide it. But they can't do that. They can't get out of their own way on special teams. And something's got to change, and it hasn't. So you change different players and personnel and what you do on special teams, and that's not working. So what else is there? It's the coach.
Yeah, you got to change the leadership.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that if they were to do that, maybe some of the game management might improve as well, depending on who he puts in that position. But if you can find a Hafley quality assistant to get in the special teams role, or maybe even the offensive coordinator role, but we won't have that conversation tonight. That, I believe, changes the trajectory of LaFleur at that point. Because again, I hear you guys. I hear you in the comments. You got the pitchforks for LaFleur. You want the coach fired. I get it. I'm not even telling you you're crazy. I'm just telling you we're not there yet. We're not there yet. I promise you, you're not there yet. You still want LaFleur, because LaFleur at his best is better than most. The problem is LaFleur right now has, I think, some of the wrong voices in his ear, and he's probably not. I just think it's probably time that he step into a full-time head coach role and actually have a general of his offense, which I don't believe he has right now. And again, we won't dive too deep into that conversation, but like, it's a theory of mine. It's how I feel about the situation. But I think Rich Bisaccia is the much more obvious and immediate issue that needs to be addressed and could change things substantially if you put a quality individual there. You don't need to put somebody there who's like the next prodigy, right? I mean, I think they got very lucky to some extent with Hafley, but at the same time, it's not like Hafley was super sought after and we won the sweepstakes. You know what I mean? Like, nobody knew Hafley. We're like, who's this guy? Wait a second. Hafley, we got to do the Packers Twitter went nuts. We got to do some research. Who is this guy? Is he on podcasts? We got something. And so if you can find someone like that again, where it's like, look, here's a high quality individual, pretty sharp about the game. Not many people realize who they are, because maybe they're in the college ranks, maybe they're in the, some of the lesser known NFL ranks, whatever it is. But just that a high IQ, high football IQ guy that can advise you differently than what this guy has done over the last 3 years. Like, just different. Different would probably be better at this point. I think that's just kind of a safe feel. That's why we feel so urgent about it. Whereas, like, if you're talking about LaFleur, different is, it's very difficult to decide that that's better, right? Like, if you're going to go different from LaFleur at your head coaching position, you damn well better get it right. And you're threading a needle at that point. I think getting rid of Bisaccia is a very safe move. So, that's where it's just it's a difference for me. But we've kind of beat this one. You got any other topics on the coaches? I don't want to leave you without a closing word on that one, man.
No, I think we're in agreement for sure with pretty much everyone else about Bisaccia.
Yeah, I think it's a strong consensus at this point. And I did want to just jump into the comments here with these guys. You guys are out there having fun tonight. We got Bill Patz is with us, says greetings, gents. Greetings, Bill. Good to see you, man. Chris the Casual in with us, and he's passionate tonight, man. He's got a lot of takes, but he said rough, fellas, rough. MLF jet sweep created. Yeah, so It is. It's rough, and we all need to kind of get it out, right? Like, we need to be mad about it. We should be mad about it. I think the standards have been raised to the highest, and right now we're not seeing that, which is very, very frustrating. And we already had. I already put up our friend Samurai Beast Warrior, but he reiterated it, man. He said, "I'm sick of our coach." I hear you, man. I hear you. I'm not telling you you're totally wrong. I'm just telling you it's not there yet. Like, you put the right things around the floor, all the pieces come together, and good things are going to happen. We're going to be happy about it. I'm quite certain. And then we got our buddy Matthew Tan joining us. Says, Carly just had a girl. Go Pack Go and go Carly Go. Absolutely. New life coming in the world. Congratulations, Carly. That's that's awesome. And of course, Go Pack Go. Good to have you with us, Matthew. And let's see here. So I'm not going to get to all of us. We got, here we go. Nostalgics. It's not like MLF has crazy accolades as a coach. We fired way more accomplished head coaches. You better not think he's safe. I'll tell you, I don't think he's safe. I don't think he feels like he's safe. Excuse me. I think he's safe right now. I don't think he feels safe. I do think that the whole like policy not extending them right away, that may not like bother him, but it's a message. It's definitely a message. And I think he heard it. I think Goot heard it too, right? We see how Goot responded. He's like, I'm going to get Micah Parsons, man. I'm keeping my job. So, yeah, I mean, yes, you've gotten rid of more accomplished head coaches, but you can't really think of it as what they've done as more so as what they're going to do. It's how they approach free agency too. Like, is the guy's best football ahead of him or not? And I think in LaFleur's case, I believe his best football is ahead of him. I would imagine the front office probably still believes that as well. But I think in order to get LaFleur's best football, he's got to be just the head coach. I think that's part of the problem. I think he's a good leader. I think he can be a great leader of this team and lead them to championships, but he needs a general on the offense and on the special teams for sure. But he's got 1 foot in, 1 foot out right now. So I just don't think he'll ever get there. But got our buddy Daryl. He says, hey, Miles. He says, hey, Tim. And he says, Tim, speaking facts. I guess I'm not speaking facts tonight. Jeez. I see how it is, Daryl. I got you. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Rough crowd.
Yeah, rough crowd, man. You guys are chippy tonight. You guys are chippy. But, hey, I got a little bit of red meat for the crowd. And, here we go. We got friend R. Shower. Sorry for being late. Been waiting to dog MLF. We've done a lot of dogging on MLF. I've got a little dogging to do on somebody else for just a minute. And I usually avoid this lane. I do. I usually avoid this lane because you never put yourself at the mercy of the officiating. Never. You never put yourself in position for it to matter. However, I think it's quite important to understand if there are certain penalties that will just not be enforced. I think one team maybe understood that better than the other. Now, whether that was by design or not is up to you. I don't think so. I think one team was just a little bit more willing to play that card than the other. But holding is not a penalty in the NFL anymore. Intentional grounding is not a penalty in the NFL anymore. And pass interference is not a penalty in the NFL anymore. And if there weren't just like dozens of examples here, I would keep my mouth shut. But in a literal tie game, one of those makes a difference. So when you have a mountain of them over here, I'm irritated. And I'll just say this. I won't say that's the reason they lost the game. No, the Packers really, they deserve to lose the game. I will say that. The Cowboys deserve to win the game. I'll even say that. Great job by Micah saving the touchdown on Dak, and that's the difference in the game right now, right there, which is odd that it ended in a tie. I think almost appropriate. But, yeah, when you have that many just obvious, disgusting misses from the officiating, I think Luke Van Ness was in a chokehold in front of the official at one point, just flailing his arms, got nothing, couldn't get anything. It was just like, okay, well, again, and you know what? Let's pin this back on Bisaccia. Hey, man, you're not studying the film enough to realize that they aren't calling these things, and you should be telling your coach, hey, coach, they're not calling holding, so, tell the guys to hold. By the way, we need some help on the O-line. Hold a little bit, guys. At least make them call it. I don't know. I was very irritated at the officiating last night. The Packers still should have made the plays and done the things that they had control of to win the game. They are not off the hook for any of that, but the officiating was disgusting. So there's my piece on that.
You would think for the amount of penalties that they did call last night, I mean, the referee was on TV more than Jerry Jones was last night. Like, he was constant.
It was awful.
Especially
the ball
the first
movement.
half.
Get out of here. My God. That was just.
They call that, but every time the tush push is run, there's three guys that are across the line of scrimmage, and everybody moves the ball. You can watch the centers move, whatever. The amount of calls they made, but yet they missed a few. The one that gets me is the intentional grounding, that there was a receiver in it. There was no receiver anywhere near that. And that was a key.
Nagler hit the nail on the head with that one. He was nearby in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
That's where he was.
There was nobody close.
Unreal.
And the holding calls, like, it's so apparent now with Micah Parsons. He gets held a ton.
Every play.
Just about. Like,
I don't want it called every play. I think that makes for a bad game. But call it once.
Call it, yeah. Like, and maybe if it gets called, then that makes the offensive lineman think, like, I can't hold him. And then Mike is going to get to the quarterback. I mean, it wasn't just last night. It happened every game he's played so far this season. He gets held a lot. And, I mean, he wins so quickly and so easily sometimes that they have to. But you got to call it. I mean, and not only does he get held, he gets grabbed around the neck and up around the head a lot. Van Ness got held. I think there was one that they missed that they could have called with Brooks getting a pass rush last night too. Yeah, I mean, I don't want every penalty. I don't want to see, there's enough, especially the Packers games, because they take so many penalties. There were a ton of flags last night, but there's things that you mentioned. You're right. They missed all of that. And holding has been so obvious, some of the calls that they've missed on Parsons. You hope at some point it starts getting called, and then it's going to change a lot because offensive linemen will stop doing it or will start doing it less, I guess, and then you're going to see Parsons get to the quarterback a lot more, which will make people happy by all the plays he'll make. So I'm hoping it'll eventually start getting called. But, man, they're missing a ton. And some of the penalties last night, there were obvious ones. But, the Packers get their fair share of penalties, and most of the time I can't argue with what's getting called on them either. So, it's not like it's not like they're perfect or anything like that, because they take a ton of penalties, and that needs to be cleaned up. And that's another recurring Matt LaFleur issue that's been going on for too long now with the penalties. But yeah, you're right. They missed a ton last night. Yeah,
it's just, you're not going to get them all. We know that, and that's why I usually don't even like to talk about it, because it's bad. It's bad across the board. Officiating's bad in every game you watch. I'm not going to say, oh, the Packers never get the calls. I'm not here for that case. But damn, like, if it's going to be that bad, I point the finger back to the Packers coaches. Goes, you guys should know this. You should be watching other film and seeing that the refs just don't call holding. So start holding, especially if we need help on the offensive line. Hold a little, make them call it. And if they're going to call it on you, then you got a case to make them call it on them. But man, that just gross. The officiating was disgusting. It was disgusting. It was just bad. So anyway, all right. So there's the red meat for the crowd there, because everybody can agree that the officiating sucked. Let's call the good things from the game, shall we? Let's go back. We've beat the pinata. I know that a couple of you guys, Showers jumped in late. That's all right, Showers. You'll catch up on all the beating of the pinata. We beat them pretty good. I do want to talk about the good things from the Cowboys game, because there were a few. The running game was good. Emmanuel Wilson was good. Emmanuel Wilson might have been the difference in that game in some ways, because there was a point where they were starting to get stagnant, and he punched right through that. So yeah, I thought that was a big one. Jordan Love obviously had a great game. He had the fumble. That was bad, but overall, great game, man. 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Come on now. That's he had a great run at one point. He's a top 10 quarterback right now. at the very least. He might have a good argument for top 5, but he is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL right now. Right now. Those are my good things. I mean, the defense, I don't know. Thanks, Micah Parsons, for showing up. You had a high motor. You made a difference. You got 10 pressures, but at the end of the day, you got beat. Halfley got beat. They got beat. Schottenheimer had a good game plan, and Dak executed it like a master. I think we expected Dak to maybe be a dunce at some point and make some silly mistakes like he did against the Bears. I don't think we gave Schottenheimer any credit for being capable of coming up with a good game plan. And we should. I mean, he's not a bad he's head coach for a reason, right? He's had good history in this league. So, yeah, like they played really good. But right now, Jordan Love is good. I think he's getting overshadowed a little bit because the Packers definitely disappointed. But what do you think? What was your good from the game, man?
It was Jordan Love, number one. He played really well. And, I mean, he had to score on every drive, basically, in the fourth quarter on. And he did it. And he kept bringing his team back, and making the plays. He made some plays with his legs, which are plays he couldn't have made last year. You can see that difference. And he did it with a beat-up offensive line in front of him. And I'll give a little bit of a shout-out to the offensive line. I don't think they were good early in the game. They were getting
stabilized.
Beat a lot. They got better as the game went on, yeah. They were getting beat a lot. They weren't good in the running game and too many penalties. But then as the game went on, they got better. So shout out to Jordan Morgan and Kennard at right tackle. I think things got better. I'm very concerned about the play Rasheed Walker. But we're saying good things right now. So Jordan Love, the running game was better in the second half, like you mentioned. I actually really like the backs catching the ball out of the backfield, Wilson and Jacobs. Had some big plays catching the ball. But beyond Jordan Love and the play of the backs, I don't have really anything else. There's defensively, I was searching. Parsons had a lot of pressures. I didn't see 10. I think that's a little high, but I know that's what the PFF number says. Whatever. I think the game plan neutralized him a lot. Rashawn Gary was very quiet, which is a shame because he's been very good this year. They definitely missed Devontae Wyatt after he went down. So I can't really pull much out of the defense. The secondary struggled. And special teams, we've already lit them on fire. So, yeah, to me, it's Jordan Love in the backs, and then maybe a little shout out to the offensive line getting better as the game went on.
Yeah, not being a complete dumpster fire. That's true. No, and got an interesting question here from Showers. Do you really trust Love? Yes. Yes, I do. I don't know, Tim, what do you think?
Yes, mostly. So, man, I do, but there's always those 2 or 3 plays a game where you just scratch your head and you go, what the hell was he thinking? And he didn't really have those last night. The fumble wasn't on him. I know Collinsworth tried to be like, put a little, that wasn't on him. His left tackle got beat really quickly. And he shouldn't have been in that situation of throwing the ball there. That's on your head coach. So last night was one of those games where he really didn't have those mind-boggling decisions that he sometimes makes. But he still has those. We saw it in the Browns game. We even saw a little bit with the Lions and the Commanders, which they won and all. But there were some close plays there that could have went the other way. So I do. My trust is really building in him. Depends on how you I trust him a lot more than I guess probably where that question is aimed. Like last night, I would have put the ball in his hands a lot more than that. Right? Like there were too many RPOs and these horizontal passes. I would have thrown the ball down the field and over the middle of the field more because he was slinging it and he was dealing. The accuracy was really good. He was in command.
The Cowboys had their backup safeties in. Their safeties aren't great to begin with. I just couldn't believe Tucker Kraft didn't have a bigger game or a bigger role. It just felt like a lot was missed.
Yeah, so Do I trust him? Yes, I trust him. There are still some things there that can like concern me at times with him. But yeah, I do. I trust him? Yes, would be my answer.
I trust him. I just think that right now what we're going through is there's a little bit of an arm wrestle happening as LaFleur hands him more control on the field. And I don't think it'll be a public thing like it would be with Rodgers. I just think it's going to be a thing like kind of like I described last week, where you know you might be in a situation where Love's like, man, I know what we need to do here, and then he gets the call from the coach, and it's one way. He can't talk back, right? So
Right.
it's like, I know what we need to do here, and then he gets the call, and it's like, that ain't it, coach. And it's like, man, we already talked about this. Should I audible out of it? Like you don't know what kind of just mental struggle there is with that, and I think that may be more of what it is than anything else. Not necessarily like, screw him, dude. He's holding me back. I don't think it's like that. I think it's just, you've got, LaFleur's got to figure out what his trust level is for the whole offense. But I really think that he needs to be able to let go of the reins a little bit. And it's not even that I think that's because he's holding Jordan Love back. I think it's more so that it's going to work better if he does it that way. And it's almost like the inverse of the conversation we were having at the end of Rodgers' tenure, where it's like, hey, man, run LaFleur's offense the way it's supposed to be. Quit doing your own crap, And I think now it's like, no, Jordan Love's been through that full phase of like, he knows this offense. It's been the same offense his whole career. You need to give him the chance now to run it in some of those moments. And it's not an easy thing to give the player that kind of control. So it's not like, we just be like, hey, LaFleur, do this, like that's going to be, in some ways, I think it'll get forced, right? I think the way that really happens is the player is going to take some freedoms at some point that he doesn't have permission to take, and it's just going to have to be okay. Like I'm sure the first time Rodgers drew a play up in the dirt, it wasn't approved by the boss first, but if it worked out, it's like, oh, all right, well, I mean, I guess it worked, So I think there's going to have to be moments like that where Love is just going to have to take the reins and go, coach, I hear you, but we got to get into this because that's not going to work. And this is, and he's going to take that freedom. It's going to work. And then it's going to, all right, everybody's happy. It worked, but that's where I feel like we're at. And that's a transitionary period.
Yes. And I think he's trying to not put too much on Jordan Love's plate, right? Like he went from a quarterback who he could, like Rodgers could control the line of scrimmage. He could control 2 minute. He could call them plays if he needed to. Like there was a lot that was like LaFleur didn't really have to worry about because Rodgers could handle that. And if he made a call, Rodgers obviously could audible out of it. And he could only he didn't have to just audible to like one play. He could draw up anything that he's done throughout his career. And some of his receivers at times, especially when Devontae was there, like knew what to do, knew what he was audible. And he could handle like late game situations. He could handle the clock and timeouts, and like that helped LaFleur as a young coach not have to have all of that along with the play calling, along with being the head coach. Like he was able to have that extremely experienced quarterback with great football knowledge and obviously all the talent, Hall of Fame credentials. And now you transition to what was a first-time starter. Now he's in his third year as a starter, and like it's completely different. And that's not a knock on Jordan Love, but it's like stuff that Love has to learn and go through. But this is year 3 for it, and I think LaFleur's kind of got to. I think LaFleur trusts him, but I think he was trying to like not put too much on his plate as a young starter and a young offense. But they've had enough reps together, and Jordan Love's been in his third year as a starter, like where he can say, all right, Jordan, I'm going to give you more. So that, especially a situation at the end of that game last night where he's getting a call in, I guess, and a lot of people didn't know what was going on. Love's got to be better in that situation too, but it was almost like Jordan needs to at times maybe take more command. And you do see him audible at the line, you do see him can the call, but I think that's a play where he's got the two options. I think it's the other times when it's 2 minutes and stuff like that where he's getting one play. Maybe he sees something and he just runs the play. He's got to have a little more freedom there to change it and run what he sees out there, what he thinks would be better. And LaFleur's kind of got to like maybe stop protecting him so much. Like, okay, I'm going to give you more. I'm going to give you more responsibility because he's ready to handle it there. Maybe that helps LaFleur out as a head coach too with his management. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I do. I
That could
think
be
it's a
part of it.
balance, right? I mean, it's a real relationship because there's a lot of trust that LaFleur has to put in his quarterback at that point. And, his quarterback isn't necessarily a seasoned offensive coordinator, right? It's not like you're handing the reins to somebody who's, been calling plays, against top defenses for years and years. There's a lot of in the first 2 years of Jordan Love's starting, there's going to be a lot of things he sees for the first time. And maybe not like the first time, but it's like, oh man, I haven't seen that look that way before. They disguised that in a different way that I haven't seen before. And there's going to be a different variation by different coordinators. So there's coordinators he went up against last season that he won't this season and all that kind of stuff. So there is a period of time where you start to figure those things out. And then, I always remember when I think it was 2018, Tom Brady, I think the Patriots started off a little bit rough that season, and he was being asked about like, when do you think you'll hang it up? And he just kind of laughed and he's like, I've got the answers to the test. Like, why would I quit now? And that's the truth, is like he's been through so much of it that he knows each defensive coordinator, not even by their system, but by their tendencies. You know what I mean? Like, I know what that guy does when, on third down, whenever it's in the fourth quarter and, we're in their side of the field. And like, you understand situationally what these guys are going to do. And you just can't do that until you've played in the league for years and years against these guys over and over again. And that's where it's like, from LaFleur's perspective, that's what he sees, right? He sees like the guys who take over like that are the Bradys that have been playing forever, and they've played against these defensive coordinators over and over again, where Jordan Love hasn't done that yet. He's seen a couple guys more than once, but he hasn't played against anybody where it's like, oh man, I know what that guy's all about. And that's just, you have to play the games. And so that's why I say like it's a period of time, but it's also something that I think the only quarterbacks who go through this are the good ones, right? Like the ones who aren't very good don't get to this point. Like they usually get weeded out or they get cut, or it's like they end up being a journeyman. Like you've got to be the starter for several years to start getting into this point where you graduate into being that offensive coordinator on the field. And Jordan Love is entering that, right? That's a good thing. And that's where I say I absolutely trust him. And I see the things that he does well. All you got to do is start working on, minimizing those mistakes. Or even if you're going to make mistakes, make them small mistakes. Don't throw an interception, throw it out of bounds. Don't take a sack, throw it out of bounds, stuff like that. Or if you're going to, don't throw an interception, take a sack, live to fight another day. But it's those things that, the journeyman quarterbacks never really get into that. I shouldn't say never. I think eventually maybe they do. But Baker Mayfield's another one where man, he kind of hops around, and then all of a sudden he's at in Tampa and looks damn good. He's like, well, he's seen a lot now, like he's actually been in different organizations, not just even gone up against them. Excuse me. So it's like that. That's what it takes. And so it's a good thing that Jordan Love is entering this period, but it is going to be, I think, a tug of war that probably goes on throughout the season, but I think it gets better as it goes. That's where I'm not looking at this like stock down, trajectory down. I think this is maybe just like a little blip and then you go back up. I think there's a lot of good left in front of Jordan Love. I guess just to sum it up like that, there's a lot of good left in front of him.
He's played well this year. He's played real well. So yeah, I think I feel much better about him right now than I did at this time last year. And a lot of what played out last year was because he was injured and they couldn't catch the ball at receiver. He stays healthy this year. Yeah, I think he's going to continue to get better. So yeah, I'm going into the bye week. He's probably the last of my concerns, right? I think he's playing pretty well. I thought he played a really good game in Dallas. Yeah, there's still those 2 or 3 plays a game, but I think part of that is also we've been spoiled by quarterback play for 15 years with Aaron Rodgers, a guy who did everything he could to avoid interceptions. And even that, by the end, people were saying, why can't force more throws, throw over the middle a little bit, and like we even got take a shot, throw it down the middle, even throw it down the middle, but like. So we think that's how all quarterbacks are. Like he just avoided interceptions. He just didn't turn the ball over. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. Like he's the best that's ever done it that way. Nobody's going to live up to that. So now you're seeing Jordan Love and like he'll have a couple plays a game where you're like, what the heck is it? A brain fart, a bad turnover, or a near turnover. It's like, yeah, watch a lot of other quarterbacks. They do the same thing, or they do it a lot more.
They do it more. I mean, Jordan Love still only has 1 interception this season.
Yeah.
So like he, as we're sitting here talking about like nobody will do it as well as Aaron. It's like he's off to the same start. He's doing the same thing. I think their stats through the same amount of games are like eerily similar.
They are.
And I'm not saying that he will, enter that trajectory. That there's so much that has to play out to have that. I'm not projecting Jordan Love to be Aaron Rodgers. But just the mentality of like not wanting to turn the ball over, not wanting to throw interceptions, he has it. There's a lot. We talk about his gunslinger mentality, but he hasn't thrown a lot of interceptions. He's put the ball at risk a few times. But on the same note, his receivers have also contributed to several of the interceptions he has thrown. Let's not soon forget how many drops there were last season, and several of those did go to interceptions. But yeah, I mean, with Love, his progression is still upward. There's a lot of growth left happen there, but I think that I absolutely do believe I trust him. And I think that he's going to be a nice balance between Favre and Rodgers as far as his style goes. Now, what he accomplishes, we'll see what he accomplishes. But his style, I think he'll have a little bit more risk taker in him than Rodgers did. But I think he's still... It's pretty high up there for him to not throw interceptions, which is wise because you see the success that Rodgers had with that mentality. Good to adopt it. How well will you carry it out, I guess, is what we'll see.
And he had gone 11 consecutive regular season games before the Browns game without throwing a pick, too. So,
yeah. So I mean, he's got a little gunslinger in him, but he's not just giving the ball away.
Right. Exactly.
But so, we're already hanging out a little bit late here. Our buddy Matthew Tan's got a question for the all-knowing Tim here. I'm going to hand this one to you. He says, just finished watching the Broncos versus Bengals game. The Broncos held the Bengals to 3 points. You think the Pack can learn from the Broncos when they face the Bengals? Think and what will happen are two different things, Matthew. Two very different things. I think they can. Yes, I do.
I think they can too. Yeah, I mean, we'll get into the Bengals next week as we after the bye week. But without Joe Burrow, they're not that good. Even with those stud receivers, like you gotta have a quarterback to get them the ball. So they're not that good. Their defense isn't that good. The Broncos have a really good defense, and I'm not saying the Packers are going to hold them to 3 points or whatever it ended up being tonight. But the Packers should absolutely be favored to win the game. We should all expect them to beat the Bengals. So we'll get into them next week. But yeah, I'm confident going into the Bengals game, but I was confident going into the Cowboys game too. So take that for whatever it's worth.
I will admit this, and I didn't have this tone on the pod last week, but especially leading up to the game, when I was talking to people about it, I was like, yeah, I'd love to sit here and talk trash. But every time people unanimously agree that the Packers are going to win and win in a large fashion, something else happens. Every time, without fail. Whenever there's that just total agreement that the Packers are going to win, something else happens. So I will say my confidence level was not as high, but it was not rational, right? It was just like, nope, just based on karma, it doesn't happen, that's not rational, but it keeps playing out that way, which is just weird. But yeah, so I had like a weird kind of question about last week's game. And again, like you're saying, we'll get into the Bengals next week. But when I look at the Bengals and their offense matching up, like it doesn't Like, there's just not a lot there, man. Like, yeah, they've got some great receivers, but the Packers are learning that if you can't protect your quarterback long enough, it doesn't matter who you have at receiver, you can't get them the ball downfield. Like, that's time. That's time and physics. You're limited. I just think it's too easy for Hafley to zone in on those good receivers and make them disappear and force the Bengals to try to beat you somewhere else, and they won't be able to. So yeah, we'll get into it more. It just doesn't look good for the Bengals. But yeah, it's the NFL. Anything can happen. So no, it's we went a little bit late tonight. Had some fun, and I think we recovered from the Cowboys loss. We've licked our wounds.
Tie.
We're gonna move.
Tie.
Yeah, it's a loss, man.
It's
a loss. It doesn't feel like a tie. It doesn't. It feels like a loss. That's why I keep saying loss. Like, it's not even a conscious thing. It just feels like they lost. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because you're right. It is a tie. So when the math comes around come playoff time, it's not a loss, which may be significant. And that Micah Parsons tackle on Dak at the 5-yard line is just a very, very significant play. But hey, if y'all had fun with us tonight, despite the fact that the Packers didn't clobber the Cowboys like we hoped they would, and I feel like we've really solved the problems. You guys got after it in the comments. I hear your emotions. I love your emotions, but we're not firing LaFleur. We're not firing Love. We are going to fire Bisaccia as soon as we get a chance to. We might fire Stinovich, but we'll talk about that later on. At least I might. Tim's not going to. But right now, I think we figured it out, and the Packers have a very well-timed bye week. So hopefully they can get it together. And maybe there will be a Christian Watson signing after the bye week. That would be kind of nice. I'm excited about that. The countdown to Christian Watson has to begin after the bye week, right?
Yeah, you can start practicing after the bye.
Yeah, so we gotta start making some noise. We gotta start putting the pressure on. We saw this dude at training camp. He was healthy then. He's had months again now, so he's got to be good to go. That knee's got to be stronger than it was before. Time to activate Christian Watson. Let's go. Even though we saw what happened with Zach Tom. Whatever. We wish for the best. No more injuries. For crying out loud, no more injuries, please. Please, football gods, please, no more injuries. All right, guys, we got to wrap this one up. We went long, but why not? We're having fun talking Pack, and we will be back again next Monday night, 9:30 p.m. Central Time. It's late time for Tim. He's a trooper, man. He's on the East Coast. It's getting past his bed. It's way past his bedtime. So you guys give him some props because he's up past his bedtime every Monday night for you. I am too, but not as much. But we love it. We love hanging out. You guys are awesome in the comments. Love all our subscribers. If y'all want to support the pod, please spike that like button right now. Jump on over to the Packers Talk Network YouTube channel and subscribe to it. It's just a couple clicks away. Very, very quick operation for you. And it makes a big difference for us, guys. It tells us that we should make another episode, and so we will. But tell your friends about it. Let's have some fun. Let's talk Pack. And, hey, the Packers can't lose this week, so nothing to be mad about. We're going to have a great weekend. We get to watch, hopefully, the Bears lose. Hopefully, the Vikings will lose. I don't know who's playing who. If somebody plays each other, whatever, maybe they'll tie too. Screw the rest of the NFC North. They all should lose so that we can enjoy our bye week. But we will be back next Monday night, y'all. And, of course, as always, go Pack, go.